Folktale from Maharashtra, the Marble Palace. Somnathpur was a small kingdom in a valley below the western ghats. Most of the mountain rivulets flowed through the valley, and the kingdom was a picture of green everywhere. The people had enough and more water for farming and for household use. King Somdev was of adventuresome nature. He visited the neighbouring kingdoms and entered into pacts of friendship with all of them. He had full faith in his ministers, who carried on a smooth administration. The king had only one son. Prince Somraj grew up into a handsome youth. He trained himself in archery and horse riding, and in course of time, he too became a lover of adventure. Suddenly, he was taken over by a wanderlust. He went to his father. "I wish to go out of the kingdom and wander about the country. I shall go alone and come back safe." King Somdev hesitated to give him permission. "Why should you go alone, my son?" he queried, sounding a bit anxious about his safety. "Take a few bodyguards with you. Or how about your friends? Won't some of them be eager to go with you?" "No, father, it is my desire to go alone," replied the prince. "I shall take good care of myself, I assure you, father." "Take your mother's permission and then come to me," said the king. Prince Somraj went to his mother and told her what his father had said. "If you assure me that you won't get into any trouble and would come back safe, you may go, though frankly I am not very happy." The prince touched her feet and went back to his father. "When do you want to leave?" King Somdev asked. "Tomorrow is New Year's Day," said the prince. "You will be escorted by our soldiers till our borders," said the king. Next day, the prince mounted his white steed and started. At the palace gates, 6 soldiers joined him. Once they reached the border, the prince waited till the soldiers turned back and rode off. Now he was on his own. He was not in a hurry, so he rode slowly, looking around and taking in all the sights. Everything appeared new. Days passed. He would often stop by rivulets, enjoying the gurgle of the swift-flowing water. He would even plunge into the cold water and feel refreshed on coming out. Whenever he came upon fruits hanging from trees, he would climb to the branches, sit there, and eat the fruits. Suddenly, one day, he came upon a wide river. He watched the river flow by for a few moments and decided to cross it on horseback. In no time, he was on the other bank and saw in front of him a dense forest. He rode slowly through tall trees. When the horse and the rider reached an open ground, the horse suddenly stopped, as if it had sensed something. It was then the prince's attention was attracted to a huge building. It looked like a palace built in red marble. Somraj saw a tall white gate where a drum hung with a gong. He could not see any gatekeeper. He took the gong and beat the drum. Nobody came from the palace to inquire who the visitor was. It looked strange. The prince decided to go in. He tied his horse to a nearby red marble pillar and walked in. His eyes now met with many bodyguards, royal servants, and men who looked like courtiers. But there was no life in them, no movement. They appeared as if they had turned statues while walking or engaged in some chore. He also saw soldiers, horses, and elephants, all of them looking like marble statues. Somraj entered the room. It was full of weapons like bow and arrows, swords and daggers. They were real, not made of marble, and were shining. There were a few watchmen who had turned statues. The next room was a big hall. At one end, he saw 2 thrones. In one sat the king in regal dress, while the other had the queen wearing glittering jewelry. Some of the chairs on either side of the hall had been occupied by probably the king's ministers. No one was moving. Everybody was looking like marble statues. The prince moved along a long passage, which took him to a room where he saw a lovely looking woman on a cot of decorated marble. 2 maids stood still near the cot, as if waiting for orders from the princess. On a nearby table, he saw 2 wands, one made of silver and the other made of gold. Somraj picked up the golden wand and went to the marble cot and touched the prince's hand. Lo and behold! He heard a sweet voice. "Who's that?" The prince saw the young woman get up from her marble cot, looking at him with dazed eyes. "I'm Princess Somraj of Somnathpur. I was bewildered when I saw everybody and everything here turned into marble statues. I'm sorry if I have intruded into your chambers, but tell me the mystery of this marble palace," said the prince. "It's a long story, O prince," said the beautiful woman now standing beside him. "I'm Princess Ratnakumari. My father is the king of Ratnagiri. For long years, this land belonged to a demon who had left the forest. When my father established his kingdom and built this palace in the center of the city, Ratnapuri, we never knew of the existence of the demon. But one day he returned and was furious that his land had been encroached upon. He began attacking the palace. Our army suffered heavy losses, and my father at last decided to explain to the demon how he came to build the palace as the first step towards founding the kingdom in the valley below the mountain range called Ratnagiri." "What was the demon's reaction?" asked Prince Somraj curiously. "Well, the demon promised that he would not trouble the people of Ratnagiri but put forth a certain condition," said Princess Ratnakumari. "What was the condition?" asked Somraj anxiously. "He demanded that I be given in marriage to him, said the princess. Where's the demon now? I shall kill him so that he won't bother you again. Nobody has escaped my arrows, said the prince, flexing his muscles. We don't know where he is, said the princess. But when my father refused to meet his demand, the demon, who had magical powers, took out a silver magic wand and began touching every animate and inanimate object in front of him. He did it with such great speed that my father, his bodyguards, or soldiers could do nothing to stop him. He uttered a curse as he went out, threatening that everything and everybody would turn lifeless before sunset. Remained so till a prince came along, took out the golden wand, touched the water kept in every room, sprinkled it all over, and touched the objects with the golden wand. Come with me, I shall help you revive everybody. Prince Somraj first touched the bowl in the prince's chamber. The princess sprinkled the water on the two maids and the prince touched them with the golden wand. They both sprang to life. Ratnakumari then led Somraj to the royal court where they continued the exercise. The king and queen and the ministers came back to life. When they were told about Prince Somraj, they were very happy. One of the ministers said, Princess, you stay back here with your parents. I shall go with Prince Somraj and wake up everybody else. Soon the palace came to life with all kinds of sounds and music. Meanwhile, the king called his ministers and courtiers. We have to decide first what we should do if the demon were to come back, said the king. Prince Somraj, who was seated next to the king, stood up and said, even if he comes as the demon had left his two wands here, we have only to ensure that he doesn't get them back. I have a feeling that without the wands, he will be powerless, and the army here will be able to overpower him. The chief minister said, Prince Somraj is right. He has uncanny intelligence and I suggest that he remains with us forever. The king smiled. That will not be a problem. If the prince will agree to marry our princess, he'll be with us always. He will also succeed me to the throne. Prince Somraj got up once again. Your Majesty, I had come out of my kingdom with a dream of finding a bride for myself, and I think I have found her here. With your permission and that of all those present here, let me go back to my kingdom and get the approval of my father and mother to this alliance. Everybody in the court hall now stood up and hailed Prince Somraj. Prince Somraj, you will not go alone. My chief minister will accompany you. Meet your father and tell him all that had happened, and also about our wish. King Somdev and his queen were only too happy when they were told about the impending wedding of their son with Princess Ratnakumari. The king and queen left for Ratnapuri with a large entourage. What they witnessed was a grand wedding. For several years, Ratnagiri was paid off the sight of the demon.
Dhanyavad. Thank you. If you like this video, do like, subscribe and share. See you in the next one. Bye bye.